hold on to your wallets, because the quarters you thought were worthless could be hiding fortunes. Today, we're uncovering the top 5 rare and most valuable Washington quarters from the 1980s. Coins that were minted in massive numbers, spent in everyday change, and ignored for decades, until now. From Philadelphia to Denver, from soft strikes to dramatic mint errors, these ordinary coins are anything but common, and some can fetch thousands of dollars in the right hands. This is Coins Numismatic Series at its most thrilling. 1985 P. Washington Quarter Dollar Coin. The 1985 P. Washington Quarter was born in an era defined by speed, volume, and efficiency at the United States Mint. By the mid-1980s, the quarter dollar had become the backbone of American commerce, essential for vending machines, parking meters, and everyday transactions. Demand was relentless, and the Philadelphia Mint answered that demand with sheer output rather than refinement. That decision would later define the coin's rarity in ways no one expected at the time. This quarter carries the familiar John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, a design originally introduced in 1932. By 1985, the design was no longer new, but its execution tells a deeper story. Washington's profile faces left, his hair tied with a ribbon at the back, with subtle sculptural depth intended to convey dignity rather than grandeur. On the 1985 P, those intended details are often muted. Dyes were used aggressively, sometimes beyond their optimal lifespan, resulting in soft hair strands, flat cheek contours, and weakened jawlines on many coins. Liberty arcs across the top of the obverse, and in 1985 it often appears slightly rounded or dull at the edges due to strike pressure and dye fatigue. In God We Trust sits to the left of Washington's neck, a critical diagnostic area for grading. Weak lettering here is common, even on coins that never circulated. The date 1985 anchors the bottom, with the P mint mark positioned just to the right of the truncation. That small letter is more important than it appears, because it permanently ties the coin to Philadelphia's high-speed production environment. The reverse features the long-standing heraldic eagle design. The eagle stands with wings fully spread, clutching arrows in its talons while olive branches rest beneath. United States of America crowns the top, E pluribus unum floats above the eagle, and quarter dollar completes the lower arc. On the 1985 P, the eagle's breast feathers are the most telling feature. On the majority of coins, these feathers blend together into a smooth, lifeless surface. Only a tiny fraction display full feather separation, sharp arrow shafts, and defined talons. The composition of the 1985 P is standard copper-nickel clad, with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. By this point, the public had fully accepted clad coinage, and no one was hoarding quarters for metal content. That reality meant nearly every coin entered circulation immediately, stacking, clashing, and marking against millions of others. Mintage for the 1985 P. Washington quarter exceeded 1.2 billion coins. That staggering number alone explains why the coin was dismissed for decades as common and unremarkable. But mintage numbers tell only half the story. What truly matters is how many survived in the condition collectors now demand. And for the 1985 P, that number is shockingly small. The first and most valuable rarity category for this coin is extreme mint state condition. Coins graded MS-67 are scarce. Coins graded MS-68 are almost mythical. Bag marks plague this issue, especially on Washington's cheek and in the open fields. Even microscopic abrasions disqualify coins from top grades. When a fully struck, clean, visually appealing MS-68 example appears at auction, bidding becomes aggressive and emotional. Prices can soar into the multiple $1,000 range, sometimes shocking collectors who still associate the coin with face value. The second major rarity category involves double die obverse errors. These occur during the die creation process, when the hub impresses the design into the die more than once at slightly misaligned angles. On strong 1985 P double dies, doubling can be seen on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and occasionally the date. True double dies show separation and notching rather than simple machine doubling. Well-defined examples are rare and highly sought after, often commanding four-figure prices even in circulated condition. The third rarity category consists of off-center strikes. These coins were struck when the planchet was not properly seated in the collar. Collectors value examples that show between 40 and 60% off-center while retaining a complete date and mint mark. The more dramatic the displacement, the stronger the demand. Uncirculated off-center 1985 P quarters can reach into the thousands due to their visual impact and relative scarcity. The fourth category includes broad strike errors. These coins were struck without the restraining collar, allowing the metal to spread outward. The result is a wider than normal coin with distorted legends and flattened rims. Broad strikes from 1985 P are especially collectible when the strike is strong and the surfaces are clean. They showcase the raw power of the minting press and the consequences of mechanical failure. The fifth and most dramatic category includes wrong planchet strikes. These occur when a quarter is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. A 1985 P quarter struck on a dime planchet will appear smaller, lighter, and incomplete, while those struck on foreign blanks can display bizarre shapes and weights. These errors are exceedingly rare and can command five-figure prices depending on condition and certification. Market value for the 1985 P Washington quarter spans an enormous range. Circulated examples are worth face value. Typical uncirculated coins trade for modest premiums. But once condition reaches the top of the grading scale, values escalate sharply. Registry set collectors compete fiercely for top population coins, and error collectors pursue dramatic mistakes with equal intensity. Collector demand for the 1985 P has grown steadily over the past decade. As modern numismatics matured, collectors began to recognize that mass production does not guarantee survival in perfect condition. The very factors that made the coin common in circulation made it rare in excellence. That paradox sits at the heart of the 1985 PS appeal. This coin represents a pivotal moment in U.S. coinage, when speed overtook craftsmanship and quality became accidental rather than intentional. The survivors of that system, especially those with exceptional strikes or extraordinary errors, are now frozen in time as artifacts of an industrialized minting era. The 1985 P Washington quarter proves that rarity is not about age, silver, or nostalgia. It is about survival against impossible odds. And somewhere, perhaps even now, one of these overlooked quarters is waiting to be recognized for what it truly is. If the 1985 Philadelphia quarter showed us what mass production could erase, the next coin proves how a single mint, a single year, and a single letter can turn an ordinary quarter into a modern battlefield for collectors. Because the 1986 Denver Washington quarter wasn't just struck in huge numbers, it was struck under conditions that quietly guaranteed future rarity. Weak strikes, exhausted dies, and relentless production pressure created a coin that almost never survived in top condition. And today, that failure is exactly what makes it valuable. 1986 D Washington quarter dollar coin. The 1986 D Washington quarter emerged from the Denver Mint at a time when the facility was operating at full throttle. The mid-1980s were defined by efficiency above all else. Quarters were needed everywhere, and the Denver Mint's mission was simple: produce as many as possible, as fast as possible. Quality control took a back seat, and the 1986 D quarter became a textbook example of how that approach creates long-term numismatic scarcity. The obverse carries John Flanagan's familiar portrait of George Washington, but the Denver execution of this design in 1986 is notably inconsistent. Washington's hair detail, especially above the ear and around the ribbon, is frequently weak or incomplete. The cheek and jawline often show softness that prevents full definition, even on coins that never entered circulation. Liberty, stretched across the top, can appear rounded and shallow, while I in God we trust to the left of the neck frequently lacks crisp separation. The D mint mark sits just above the date 1986, slightly to the right of Washington's truncation. That single letter is the key to this coin's identity and its challenges. Denver quarters from this era are infamous among graders for strike weakness and contact marks, and the 1986 D stands as one of the clearest examples. On the reverse, the heraldic eagle design struggles even more. The eagle's breast feathers are almost always flat, merging into a smooth central area with little texture. The arrow shafts can be weak, and the talons often lack depth. Fully struck reverse details are rare, and when they appear, they immediately separate a coin from the overwhelming majority of survivors. The composition remains copper-nickel clad, with outer layers bonded to a copper core. These coins were never hoarded for metal value, ensuring that nearly all entered circulation. Coins were dumped into bags, transported in bulk, and released en masse, accumulating contact marks before ever reaching the public. Mintage for the 1986 D. Washington quarter exceeded 500 million coins. By raw numbers, that suggests abundance. But those numbers collapse dramatically when condition is factored in. The Denver Mint's production quality meant that very few coins met the standards required for high mint state grades. The first and most valuable rarity category for the 1986 D is extreme mint state condition. Coins graded MS-66 are available with effort. MS-67 coins are scarce. MS-68 coins are exceptionally rare and can command prices that surprise even seasoned collectors. Population reports show a steep drop-off at these levels, and registry set competition ensures fierce bidding when top examples appear. The second major rarity category involves double die varieties. True double die obverse examples from 1986 D display clear separation in lettering, especially in Liberty and I in God We Trust. Some show doubling on the date itself. These errors occurred during the die creation process and are fundamentally different from mechanical doubling. Strong examples are scarce and highly desirable, often reaching into the thousands depending on condition. The third category includes off-center strikes. These errors occurred when the planchet was misaligned during striking. Collectors seek examples that are dramatically off-center while still showing a complete date and mint mark. The visual impact of a well-executed off-center 1986 D quarter is powerful, and uncirculated examples can sell for substantial premiums. The fourth rarity category consists of clipped planchet errors. These happen when the metal strip used to punch out blanks overlaps a previously punched hole, leaving a curved or straight clip missing from the coin. On 1986 D quarters, large, clean clips with full detail elsewhere on the coin are especially collectible. The fifth and most dramatic category includes wrong planchet strikes. A 1986 D quarter struck on a dime planchet will be underweight and undersized, with parts of the design missing. Strikes on foreign planchets create even more exotic appearances. These errors are rare, unmistakable, and command strong five-figure interest in top condition. Market value for the 1986 D quarter spans from face value to extraordinary. Circulated coins remain common. Typical uncirculated examples trade for modest premiums. But once a coin crosses into MS-67 or higher, values escalate quickly. Error coins introduce an entirely different price tier, where rarity and visual appeal outweigh all other considerations. Collector demand for the 1986 D has grown steadily as awareness spreads about its strike issues. Modern registry collectors know that Denver quarters from the mid-1980s are among the hardest to locate in top grade. Error collectors prize the year for its range of dramatic mint mistakes. Together, these forces keep demand strong and competition intense. The 1986 D. Washington quarter stands as a reminder that rarity is often accidental. No one at the Denver Mint intended to create a future collectible, but the combination of production pressure, worn dies, and mass handling guaranteed that perfection would be rare. Today, those few survivors tell the story of an era when speed ruled and excellence became an anomaly. If the 1986 D showed us how weak strikes create scarcity, the next coin takes that lesson even further. Because the 1987 D. Washington quarter isn't just difficult and high grade, it's one of the most quietly important modern quarters ever produced. For years it sat unnoticed, lumped in with other clad issues, until collectors realized just how few truly exceptional examples exist. This is the quarter that transformed modern Washington quarters from overlooked change into serious competitive territory. 1987 D. Washington quarter dollar coin. The 1987 D. Washington quarter was struck during a year when quarter production was unusually restrained compared to surrounding years. Demand for quarters dipped slightly, and the U.S. Mint adjusted output accordingly. That decision, barely noticed at the time, would later become the foundation of this coin's modern rarity. Struck at the Denver Mint, the 1987 D carries all the hallmarks of mid-1980s Denver production, but with an added layer of scarcity. The obverse features John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, facing left, with the D mint mark placed just above the date. On this issue, strike quality is notoriously inconsistent. Washington's hair detail, especially above the ear and near the ribbon, is often weak or indistinct. The cheek and jawline frequently appear flat, even on coins that never circulated. Liberty across the top is a critical diagnostic area. On most 1987 D quarters, the letters lack sharp edges and appear slightly swollen. In God We Trust to the left of Washington's profile often shows uneven depth, with some letters stronger than others. These inconsistencies are not signs of wear, but symptoms of production shortcuts and die fatigue. The reverse eagle design further complicates matters. The eagle's breast feathers are almost always soft, blending into a single smooth surface. Arrow shafts can be weak or partially defined, and the talons often lack separation. A fully struck reverse on a 1987 D is rare enough that it immediately attracts attention from advanced collectors. The coin's composition remains the standard copper-nickel clad format, with no intrinsic metal value to encourage saving. Nearly all 1987 D quarters were released into circulation, where they were quickly subjected to contact marks, scratches, and general wear. Few people set aside rolls or bags of these coins, assuming they would never be worth more than face value. Mintage for the 1987 D Washington quarter was just over 655 million coins. While that number sounds enormous, it is notably lower than many surrounding years, especially when compared to Philadelphia issues that often exceeded 1 billion. Combined with poor strike quality, this reduced mintage creates a perfect storm of condition rarity. The first and most valuable rarity category for the 1987 D is extreme mint state condition. Coins graded MS66 are available with patience. MS67 coins are scarce and expensive. MS68 coins are exceptionally rare and represent some of the most valuable non-error modern Washington quarters in existence. When one appears at auction, it can command prices in the high thousands or more, driven by fierce registry set competition. The second major rarity category involves off-center and broad strike errors. Off-center 1987 D quarters that retain a full date and mint mark while showing dramatic displacement are highly prized. Broad strikes, struck without a collar, create wide, distorted coins that showcase the raw force of the striking press. Clean, uncirculated examples are especially valuable. The third category includes double die obverse varieties. While not common, true double dies do exist for this issue. Collectors look for clear separation and notching in Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date. Strong examples elevate the coin from condition rarity to variety rarity, often commanding significant premiums. The fourth rarity category involves wrong planchet strikes. A 1987 D quarter struck on a dime planchet or foreign blank is immediately recognizable due to its reduced size and weight. These errors are rare, dramatic, and among the most valuable modern quarter mistakes. The fifth category includes die clash errors, where elements of the obverse and reverse designs appear faintly impressed on the opposite side. On 1987 D quarters, clashes can sometimes reveal parts of the eagle within Washington's profile or vice versa. Well-defined clashes are popular among error collectors. Market value for the 1987 D spans a wide spectrum. Circulated examples remain face value. Typical uncirculated coins sell for modest premiums. But high-grade mint state examples and major errors occupy an entirely different tier, with prices that rival much older coins. Collector demand for the 1987 D is intense and enduring. Registry set builders consider it a key date in high grade, while error collectors appreciate the variety of dramatic mistakes available. Its reputation as a sleeper rarity is now firmly established, and demand continues to grow as populations at the highest grades remain locked. The 1987 D Washington quarter is proof that modern rarity can hide in plain sight. It was never meant to be special, yet the circumstances of its creation ensured that excellence would be rare. Today, It stands as one of the most important coins in the modern Washington quarter series. If the 1987 D taught collectors to respect low mintage and weak strikes, the next coin delivers a completely different lesson. Because the 1988 P Washington quarter wasn't rare because of low production. It was rare because of survival. Over 1 billion were struck, yet almost none escaped the brutal reality of mass handling with the quality collectors demand today. This is the paradox of the 1988 Philadelphia quarter, a coin defined not by how many were made, but by how few remained untouched. 1988 P Washington quarter dollar coin. The 1988 P Washington quarter rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint during a period when output numbers mattered more than precision. The quarter was a workhorse coin, essential to everyday American life, and the Mint treated it accordingly. Speed was king. Dies were pushed hard. Coins were dumped into bags by the thousands. And in that environment, perfection became accidental. The obverse features John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, unchanged in concept, but deeply affected by execution. On the 1988 P, Washington's hair detail is frequently weak, especially above the ear and along the ribbon tying the hair. The cheekbone and jawline often lack crisp definition, and contact marks in these open areas are extremely common. Even coins that appear bright and flashy at first glance often fail under magnification. Liberty arcs across the top, but on many examples the lettering lacks sharp edges. In God We Trust, positioned to the left of Washington's profile, is a critical grading zone. Weak impressions or slight abrasions here immediately limit a coin's grade. The date 1988 sits at the bottom, with the P mint mark just to the right of the truncation, quietly signaling Philadelphia's role in this massive production run. The reverse continues the heraldic eagle design, but this is where the 1988 P truly struggles. The eagle's breast feathers are almost always flat, merging into a smooth central patch with little texture. Arrow shafts can be incomplete, and the talons often appear rounded rather than sharp. Fully struck reverses with strong feather separation are rare enough that they instantly elevate a coin into elite territory. The coin's copper-nickel clad composition ensured that no one saved these quarters for metal value. They entered circulation immediately, where they clashed against one another, acquiring the bag marks that plague the issue today. Many coins were already damaged before ever reaching the public. Mintage for the 1988 P Washington quarter exceeded 1.1 billion coins. On paper, that makes it one of the most common quarters of the decade. In reality, it is one of the most difficult to locate in true gem condition. Population reports show a dramatic collapse at MS-67, and MS-68 examples are extraordinarily rare. The first and most valuable rarity category for the 1988 P is extreme mint state condition. MS-66 coins are available with patience. MS-67 coins are scarce and expensive. MS-68 coins are nearly unobtainable and can command prices that rival or exceed many classic silver issues. Registry set collectors compete aggressively for these top population survivors. The second major rarity category includes double die obverse varieties. True double dies on the 1988 P show visible separation in Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date. These errors occurred during die creation and are fundamentally different from strike doubling. Strong examples are rare and can command significant premiums even in circulated grades. The third category consists of broad strike errors. When struck without a collar, the 1988 P quarter spreads outward, creating a wide, distorted coin with flattened rims and expanded legends. Clean, well-centered broad strikes with strong detail are highly collectible and visually striking. The fourth rarity category includes off-center strikes. Collectors prize examples that show dramatic displacement while retaining the full date and mint mark. Off-center 1988 P quarters with 40 to 60% of the design visible are particularly desirable, especially in uncirculated condition. The fifth and most dramatic category includes wrong planchet strikes. A 1988 P quarter struck on a dime planchet will appear undersized and underweight, while those struck on foreign planchets display unusual shapes and weights. These errors are rare, unmistakable, and among the most valuable modern quarter mistakes. Market value for the 1988 P spans from face value to astonishing heights. Circulated coins remain common. Typical uncirculated pieces trade for modest premiums. But high-grade survivors and major errors occupy a different universe, where prices reflect rarity, demand, and visual appeal rather than age. Collector demand for the 1988 P continues to grow as awareness spreads. Registry competition has transformed this once-ignored coin into a modern key in top condition. Error collectors value the year for its variety of dramatic mistakes. Together, these forces ensure long-term relevance and rising interest. The 1988 P Washington quarter proves that massive production does not guarantee abundance. In fact, it often guarantees the opposite. When speed replaces care, excellence becomes rare, and rarity becomes valuable. If the 1988 P showed how billion coin production can erase quality, the final coin in this series shows how the end of a decade locked those problems in permanently. Because the 1989 D Washington quarter didn't just inherit the flaws of the 1980s, it sealed them. This coin closed out an era defined by speed, fatigue, and overlooked mistakes, and in doing so, it became one of the most deceptively difficult modern quarters to master. 1989 D Washington quarter dollar coin. The 1989 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint during the final year of a decade dominated by industrial-scale coinage. By this point, the Washington quarter had been in continuous production for more than half a century, and familiarity bred indifference. Quarters were expected to work, not to impress. That mindset shaped every aspect of the 1989 D, from strike quality to handling, and it ultimately defined the coin's modern rarity. The obverse features John Flanagan's portrait of George Washington, facing left in his customary stoic profile. On the 1989 D, the strike is frequently soft in key areas. Washington's hair above the ear often lacks individual strand definition. The ribbon tying the hair appears flat on most examples, and the cheek and jawline are magnets for contact marks. Even coins that appear bright and uncirculated often reveal numerous microscopic abrasions under magnification. Liberty arcs across the top of the obverse, but sharp, squared lettering is uncommon. The letters often appear rounded, with softened edges caused by worn dies and insufficient striking pressure. In God We Trust, positioned to the left of Washington's neck, is another critical grading zone. Weak impressions or light scuffing here dramatically limit a coin's grade. The date 1989 anchors the bottom, with the D mint mark just above and to the right of the truncation, confirming its Denver origin. The reverse eagle design continues to challenge collectors. The eagle's breast feathers are typically flat, merging into a smooth central area with little texture. Arrow shafts can appear incomplete, and talons often lack depth. Fully struck reverse details are rare and instantly elevate a coin's desirability. On most 1989 D quarters, the reverse alone prevents the coin from reaching the highest mint state grades. The composition remains copper-nickel clad, and by 1989, public confidence in clad coinage was complete. No one saved quarters for intrinsic value, and almost every coin entered circulation immediately. Coins were stacked, transported, and released in enormous quantities, acquiring contact marks long before reaching wallets or cash registers. Mintage for the 1989 D Washington quarter exceeded 600 million coins. That number ensured availability in circulation but did nothing to guarantee quality. In fact, it did the opposite. High-speed production combined with worn dies meant that true gem-quality coins were never common to begin with. The first and most valuable rarity category for the 1989 D is extreme mint state condition. Coins graded MS-66 are accessible. MS-67 coins are scarce and command strong premiums. MS-68 coins are exceptionally rare and sit among the most valuable modern Washington quarters not defined by a single major error. When one appears at auction, registry collectors compete aggressively, often driving prices into the multiple $1,000 range. The second major rarity category involves double die varieties. True double die obverse examples from 1989 D show clear separation in lettering, particularly in Liberty and In God We Trust. Some also display doubling on the date. These errors occurred during the die hub process and are distinct from strike doubling. Strong examples are rare and highly prized. The third rarity category includes off-center strikes. These errors occur when the planchet is misaligned during striking. Collectors seek examples with dramatic displacement that still show the full date and mint mark. Off-center 1989, D quarters with clean surfaces and bold design remnants are especially valuable. The fourth category consists of clipped planchet errors. Curved or straight clips caused by misfed metal strips create visually distinctive coins. Large, well-defined clips with minimal secondary damage are scarce and command strong collector interest. The fifth and most dramatic category includes wrong planchet strikes. A 1989 D quarter struck on a dime planchet will be smaller and lighter, often missing parts of the design. Strikes on foreign planchets produce even more unusual results. These errors are unmistakable and can command five-figure prices in top condition. Market value for the 1989 D ranges from face value to extraordinary. Circulated examples are common. Typical uncirculated coins carry modest premiums. But high-grade survivors and major errors occupy a different tier entirely, where rarity and demand collide. Collector demand for the 1989 D remains strong and continues to grow. It represents the end of a decade that modern collectors now view with fresh eyes. Registry competition ensures constant pressure on top population coins, while error collectors pursue the year's most dramatic mistakes with equal intensity. The 1989 D Washington quarter closes this series with a powerful reminder. Modern coins are not defined by how old they are, but by how unlikely it was for them to survive untouched. These five quarters, struck in the heart of the 1980s, prove that rarity is often born from neglect, speed, and indifferences. And there you have it, the hidden stories, minting secrets, and incredible values behind the 1985 P, 1986 D, 1987 D, 1988 P, and 1989 D Washington quarters. Who knew modern quarters could hold such surprises? If you've got a jar of change at home, don't dismiss it. Your next discovery could be worth a small fortune. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the coins that history forgot but collectors prize. And remember, in the world of numismatics, the most ordinary coins often hold the most extraordinary secrets.